When it comes to grading, there's so much noise out there right now with PSA, CGC scandals, prices increasing, turnaround times, all this stuff. You may be wondering, as a small Pokemon card business, is it worth grading and flipping cards? And for me, the short answer is yes. There is still a great opportunity for those who are patient and detail oriented to make money, to either build out their business or their collection by grading and flipping cards. And today I'm going to talk about how I do that, how I go through my sourcing, pre-grading, and where I send which cards. But before we jump into that, my name's Coda. I own Coda's Collectibles. I have restarted my Pokemon card business in January after taking some time off because of work and life. If you're interested in following me building this business and hearing what I've learned and what I hope to help you learn from my experience, please make sure you subscribe, follow, leave a comment below. Let me know what you'd like to hear about, what you're interested in, or just how your grading journey has been. I'm always interested in hearing how other people are doing with their businesses and everything that's going on. Without further ado, let's jump into grading. Now, I'm going to preface this with, this is a very subjective, personal opinion. This is what I've been doing. This is how things have been working for me. It may not always come out the same for you. You may not get where my gem rate is, or you may get way above my gem rate. Right now, I'm sitting about a 66% gem rate, mainly through PSA. So I'm just telling you what I've learned, how I experience things, how I've been working it. And if you want to take that and make your own version of it or kind of jump off somewhere else, feel free to. It's going to completely depend on you and your risk tolerance and what your preferences are. For me, I'm a more strict grader, especially when it comes to PSA and especially when it comes to sending stuff to Beckett for black labels. PSA used to be a little more lenient. They have seemingly tightened down their standards a bit, and I've seen a lot of people recently have a lot more returns with more 9s and 8s. So first, how do I source my cards? There are a couple different ways to do this. If you are someone that is located where a lot of shows happen, a lot of vendors are around, I would recommend doing that. That is always the best option. It gives you an opportunity to see the card in your hand, to go through the pre-grading process a little bit in person before you even purchase it. The downside is, of course, if you do not have access to shows like me, who has very few shows around him, you may not have the opportunity to do that. Also, there's competition. Other people are doing the same thing at these shows. So if that's not a possibility, or there's too much competition, you're having a hard time finding anything, tcgplayer and eBay are great fallbacks. eBay, I've had a little bit of a harder time. It's a little more meticulous. You can see the card beforehand a bit, but it is easy to hide imperfections in pictures on eBay. And realistically, walking through each card and looking at the details on a screen where you know they can be hiding imperfections is a lot of time and still high risk. So for me, I just go on tcgplayer oftentimes. If I'm looking at a specific card, maybe a specific promo or just a specific Japanese card, I will just buy a bunch of them from different vendors on tcgplayer. The downside is, of course, I'm not seeing these cards before I purchase them, but the upside is I can buy a lot of cards at the same time very quickly. And honestly, I've had decent success doing this. Of course, being at a show would probably be better, but as far as someone who doesn't have a lot of access, this has been great. So once you get your cards from whatever preferred source you have, it is now time to pre-grade. And the thing I start with is centering. Centering is the quickest thing that you can look at a card and know, okay, that is clearly off center. Okay, that looks pretty centered. I'm gonna put this aside and look at it a little more closely in a bit. So I'll go through the cards. I'll make two separate piles. One of, this is pretty well centered. I'm gonna look at this a little further. Another pile of, definitively not centered. I can tell this isn't gonna meet the centering qualifications. I'm putting it to the side. Those are gonna get sold on Whatnot or tcgplayer. Now for standards, I usually go off of PSAs because that's where I've often been sending, and this will kind of vary a little bit between companies, but 55-45 is what PSA standards are, and that is what I try to stick with. So 55-45 meaning 55% border to 45% border on each side, and the same for top to bottom. So you can't be more off center than that, and there's a myriad of ways to figure out exactly what your centering is. Another thing with centering is the back of the card doesn't have to be in this 55-45 rule. Actually, 75-25 is the qualification for centered enough for PSA, which is wildly different. So I will quickly glance at that to make sure it's not extremely off center, but for the most part, this is something that doesn't come into play on these grades. Now I will try to find the ones that are more centered on the back, but according to PSA, this is a very, very wide range that you can use for it. So don't get too concerned if you're like at 60-40 on the back, but you're still well centered on the front. It should still fall in the qualifications for a 10. So once you have a pile of cards you feel is pretty well centered, but you want to investigate a little bit more to make sure it's definitely within the realm, you can get a card centering tool like this or a myriad of other tools. I will link this one in the description below. This is one I have. There's plenty of options out there. These tools will have marks in the corner where you can align the corners of your card to it and then use the marks on the inside to figure out how centered your card is. And the marks on the inside will correlate to the booklet that you'll get with it to tell you exactly what the range of centering is for that specific area. So for me, between the 2 and the 3 and that dotted line, if I'm on that for all sides, that is a 50-50 card. That is a perfectly centered card. And that is a way to very quickly get a perfect centering measurement on your card. You can also use different apps on your phone to do the same thing. I have not used any, so I'm not going to recommend any, but I know a lot of people that do. So feel free to explore that area. So once you have a stack of cards that is within your centering preferences, I would take any cards that are exactly 50-50 or very, very close to it and set them aside, because Beckett Black Labels are the most sought after expensive cards you can get graded. And to meet those qualifications, you need to have basically perfect centering. So those are my, okay, these are candidates to potentially get sent to Beckett to try to chase a black label. The rest of them will go to other companies. And in this process, I will keep those two piles separate, and I'll keep my potential Beckett Black Label candidates aside until I find something that's a small flaw that would not qualify it as a Beckett Black Label, but could potentially be a PSA 10 or CGC 10 or whatever. Then I will move that from that pile to every other company pile. Now that we have our pile of centered cards, let's go ahead and look at the corners and edges of them. We're looking for any amount of white dots, any whitening on the edges, any indentations on the edges, or anything like that. As you can see from this example, this is a card that is a very clean, nice edge on it. There is no edge wear on this edge at all. It looks really nice. On the flip side, we have this card, which is some very clear indentation and whitening. This is the kind of card, and anything close to it, this is a pretty extreme example in my opinion, that I would not be sending to any grading company at all. This is an immediate put to the side, probably honestly, not even near mint, but definitely not gradable. So once we look through the edges, we're gonna look at the corners. Are the corners nice and rounded? As you can see in this one, this is a nice rounded, clean corner. Now in this one, we can see a very clear issue with it. This is not a nice rounded corner. There's an edge here. This is not going to get that 10 that we were chasing. And also we're gonna see these little white dots. Now this little white dot is on a pretty clean corner. This is a factory issue. This is from when the card was cut. This is something that usually is on fresh out of the package cards. But when I was first taught on how to grade with PSA, I had someone that had done it for a long time that kind of taught me the ways, if you will. He said, if one white dot is on there, feel free to send it. If there's white dots on multiple corners, he doesn't send it at all. And that's the strategy that I followed. But now PSA is a little more strict. So it may be we find that one white dot is still fine, no white dots are okay, or maybe still two white dots and there's just a wide range. Who knows? This is the most frustrating to me part to figure out. I know with PSA, I've had cards with two white dots not get 10s. I've had cards with one white dot get 10 and some that got 9s. I don't know if there's another issue that I missed, but that is just kind of the case. And with PSA, I may start to not send anything with the white dots. I don't know yet. We have some out right now that have a white dot in the corner, at least a couple of them. So we'll see how those end up turning out. And then with CGC and other companies, I don't know what they're gonna expect with it. I don't know how they're gonna evaluate that. So I will be sending some with two white dots, some with one white dot, and just get a feel for it. Once I get those back, I will be happy to report back and let you guys know what I have discovered with these different companies. But for now, that is all I can tell you. White dots on the corners are the most frustrating thing to evaluate. And if you have any idea or any strategies you do with these, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to learn what other people are doing. Now that we've worked through the edges and the corners, let's go on to the front and back surfaces. Now we're looking for any kind of indentation. As you see here, I have seen some of these pin dots and some smaller than this on the backs of cards fresh out of packs. I don't know what causes them, but they are there, so something to look out for. Also, we're looking for any scratches. If you hold a card tilted towards the light, you can see the reflection of the light in the card, and it helps pick out these different dots, scratches, anything like that. So using some kind of light source to do this is the most quick way of doing it. You can also use some kind of magnifying glass, though I don't typically feel the need to. A lot of people do because they want to be super specific, especially with anything that might get sent to Beckett for black labels. This is a relatively quick part of the process. You're just looking for any kind of clear scratches or issues with the foiling or issues with the discoloration on the back of the card or the front of the card or anything like that. You're just looking for anything that doesn't look like it should belong on a normal card. Now that you've done all that, you can be relatively confident that the cards you have before you are good enough to send in to get graded. This by no means guarantees you that you will get great grades on these. Grading is a little bit subjective, especially with companies like PSA and CGC, where you're hoping that this meets all the qualifications, you're hoping they didn't miss anything, but someone may have a different opinion on what is an acceptable amount of centering. They may say, this card's 5645, 5644, that's ruled out. Or they may say that little bit of a hairline of a scratch, unacceptable, immediately ruled out. Or they may look at it and say, two white dots in the back corners, fine, I don't care about that, still a 10. So there's a little bit of subjectivity to this. This is just what I've found has been relatively successful for me. Your results will vary. Hopefully now you still also have that little pile of cards that have met the perfect qualifications on everything. And those can be sent off to Beckett for black labels if you want to, or you can send it to CGC for pristines, or you can send to PSA and have a very good shot at getting a 10. Again, no guarantee. Nothing's a guarantee when it comes to grading, but another good opportunity. I send those cards to Beckett because I want to chase those black labels with a few cards. I think it's always worth the lottery ticket. You know, it's still a good opportunity. Even the gold 10s are still pretty sought after, though not nearly to the degree of the Beckett black labels. Now for the rest of the cards, the ones that didn't quite meet those perfect qualifications but are still acceptable to send, I will always send some to PSA, because until the market doesn't want PSA, even though I'm not a big PSA slab fan, the market loves it. So I'm going to send into there. It's going to take a while to get back. It's going to be a little more expensive. So I'm a little more choosy with which cards I send. And I also understand it's going to take a while before those cards get back to me. And now I'm also testing a lot more with CGC and Tag because they have shorter turnaround times. They're a hair cheaper. They're not as sought after in the market, but if I can fill those gaps between submissions to PSA and waiting for those to get back, that's a great way to still have a profitable way of getting more product and having more product in the shop and not just having an empty inventory. There are opportunities outside of PSA. PSA is still king, yes. PSA is still the market king, but if you're a smaller company trying to get off the ground, you're trying to get your business off the ground, you need to have an opportunity to get something in the meantime. You may not have the time to wait for 5 months for PSA to get back to you and just sit there with an empty shop. CGC is a great opportunity with a shorter turnaround time to try it out. Same thing with Tag, though Tag is still a little more strict on their cards, so I try not to send too many in-between cards there, but I will be sending off some nicer cards to Tag, and then CGC is going to kind of get a range. I'm going to see where their grading typically falls. It might be pristines, I might get 9s, I don't know yet, but it's a little bit cheaper, quicker turnaround time, and I can learn more about what their grading preferences are by having more opportunity to send them in at cheaper rates. Again, that's my strategy. I just feel like it's an opportunity to diversify with the turnaround times from PSA. You may say, I don't want to do anything but send to PSA, in which case, feel free to do so. That is completely in your right, and if you have the ability to wave things in and do every 3 weeks, have another submission and have the patience for it, great for you. PSA still sells quickly. PSA is still a great way of getting good inventory that will be much more liquid. Just for me, PSA will always be a part of that, but I want to try out other companies just to test it. I may find that CGC never sells or Tag never sells. And then I'm like, cool, Beckett for black labels and PSA for everything else. And I just have to be patient and fill the gaps with other things. Now, before I send them, I will just give them a very gentle look over, make sure everything's clean. There's no little hairs, no little straggling marks or anything like that. I wear gloves whenever I'm handling these cards just to make sure nothing gets on them. And I'll use like these little spongy brushes. I will never touch the corners with them or the edges. You honestly may not have to do that. This is just if I see something that's very obvious, like, ooh, there's a little hair there, I need to get that out. I'm not gonna touch it with my hand. So you use that little brush to kind of get it out of the way, you know, just make sure everything's nice and clean. And that's it. That's essentially from beginning to end how I get my cards, grade them, and get them sent off to companies. I will be reporting back on how CGC and Tag have done once I get my submissions back from them and get them up on eBay and try to sell them. I don't know how that's gonna go yet. We will see. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you have any questions on more details about any of this stuff or just business in general or videography or whatever you want to talk about. I love just chatting about stuff. I'm always learning. So feel free to let me know in the comments below. Please make sure you subscribe and like and all that fun stuff. And I will see you in the next one. Please take care of yourselves. Peace.